You're looking live at the city of Kyiv in Ukraine right now. The White House has responded to reports of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. He says the prayers of the entire world are with the people of Ukraine tonight, calling it an unprovoked and unjustified attack.
Hearing reports of explosions now, and joining us now with more insight on the invasion tonight, Bill Muck with North Central College. Bill, thanks for checking in. I know we talked with you before all of this unfolded tonight here, but the Kremlin said the separatists asked for the Russian military to come in. Is that the pretext for war that we were warned about?
It sure does appear to be that way, that Putin just gave a speech. He gave a speech at 5:40 in the morning, Russia time, basically declaring war on Ukraine. And he was pointing to the Russians in eastern Ukraine to say that they need Russia to come and defend them. He was arguing that this is a matter of life or death for the Russians. I mean, it was a really over-the-top speech. And it does appear that he's using these territories in eastern Ukraine to launch a quite full and aggressive invasion of larger Ukraine. So a dramatic development.
Bill, a pivotal moment in the 21st century right now. What does this say about the future of autocracy and democracy?
It is so important, right? I mean, this is getting us back to the 20th century. This is a moment we'll look back and say this is really the end of the post-Cold War world in Europe, where Russia is invading an independent, a sovereign democracy and trying to push that away. I can't emphasize how important this is for democracy, and I anticipate that Biden and NATO tomorrow are going to continue to push hard. This is a dramatic development. Putin is trying to throw us back into the 20th century when intimidation and rolling tanks across the border was okay. And I think this is, it's an important test for American leadership.
Yesterday, the Biden administration was saying it's not too late to de-escalate. That moment appears to have passed. The diplomacy broke down before it even had the chance to begin, which sort of speaks to your point about where Putin wanted to go with this.
Even just today, just within the last hour, you had the UN Secretary General calling out to Putin to say, stop your troops, give peace a chance. Too many people have died. A few hours ago, the president of Ukraine gave a speech, and he appealed directly to the people of Russia to say, we want peace. We don't want a war. Everybody, even up to the last minute, has been trying to dissuade Putin from doing this. And it's clear that his mind is made up. There's speculation that he's surrounded by hardliners and that he sees this as a historic moment and, a great victory for Russia. So again, very, very dark interpretation.
Is this the start of him trying to reestablish the Soviet Union, and how can he be stopped?
I think that's a really important point, because this doesn't make rational sense to do, because the costs that are going to be coming to Russia are so high, the economic, the political, the diplomatic costs. It's going to be a very, very heavy burden for him to pay. So the question is, what's motivating him? And I think it's history. Putin really believes he is the one who can restore the Russian Empire, bring Russia back to greatness. And this feels like that's what's motivating him, because on a different level, on a more sort of classic international politics level, this makes no sense. This is a terrible decision that's likely to backfire. So he's motivated by something very different.
Well, a big emphasis was put on sanctions imposed not only by the United States that would hit Russia hard, but the rest of the world as well. It appears that President Putin really dismissed that right out of hand.
Yeah, I think so. And tomorrow, so I think we were talking earlier, what Biden had announced in the last 24 hours was really a first wave of sanctions, and they were relatively minor. Given tonight's development, I think tomorrow you're going to see the whole gambit of sanctions coming from NATO and the United States. And I think even the U.S. political system will find a way to come together, Democrats and Republicans, to agree on a pretty oppressive sanction regime. I think the same thing is going to be coming from Europe. I mean, there's going to be a united voice on this. In international politics, it's not always a clear right and wrong, and there's a lot of gray in the world, but this is clearly an act of aggression, and I think the world is going to respond accordingly.
We could be seeing a war as big as World War II. We're talking about tens and thousands of casualties, aren't we?
I think we are, and I think that's one thing we really haven't fully appreciated, that this is the closest thing we can think about as World War II. I mean, there was fighting in Yugoslavia in the 90s, but this is going to be different. This is, crossing borders. We're going to see refugees. I mean, this is a sort of scary development. You're going to have lots of Ukrainians fleeing the country, going to Poland, going to Romania. If an air campaign is truly playing out, you're going to see cities burning. I mean, this is a very, very dark day for Europe.
And when you combine those stark images of war, Bill, that you just described, you also have this idea of a totally different kind of attack, and that involves the cyber attack, which is also being launched not only throughout Europe, but here in the United States. Can you talk about that dimension of modern warfare?
This is a really important development because you're right. We tend to think about war as tanks and planes, but the cyber war has already started, and Russia's been doing this for a couple days of targeting Ukraine, targeting their financial institutions, making life very, very difficult, and those are going to escalate. And I think it's not just Ukraine. Putin in his speech today said that anybody who intervenes or lends support is going to be a target. So I'm sure that the United States and the NATO allies are all going to be concerned about this, and Putin is sort of backed himself in a corner, and I think he's going to be lashing out.
The start of the hybrid wars, so to speak. Bill Muck of North Central College, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Still ahead, take a wild ride through the skies.